Hi. Once again, we're back for another video regarding my reflections as a teaching assistant for the LDR class, the leadership class, groups, leadership in groups and communities. So as always, I wanted to just do a positive sandwich over the last couple of weeks since my last video regarding how my TA internship is going. So a positive sandwich is where I'm going to talk about the positives, the not so positives, and then more positives to round it up. Usually about future things that I'm excited about and things within that realm. So today is October 6th. It's Saturday, which means Monday starts week 7 of the semester, which means we're almost to that halfway point of the class schedule, right? So it's been really interesting up until this point, getting to know the students, getting to find my routine as a teaching assistant, getting to understand what it means to be a teacher or a teaching figure. So, something that's been positive, or a few things that's been positive so far in my experience, is that I've received an enhanced relationship with the students. So, thinking back from the first couple videos, even, so the first couple of weeks of my teaching experience till now, one, I know all the students' names, which is really interesting and exciting because when I call them by their names, you can just see their faces light up like, oh, she remembers me. And I'm like, of course I do. And then with that comes some type of rapport, right? So I'll see the students on campus and different things like that. And it's nice to know that I've built relationships with these students where they feel comfortable saying hi to me, even out in the community. So that's been really cool. Additionally, I'm learning different ways to navigate conversations. So, thinking back to my goal statement and what I hope to get out of this internship, I really wanted to learn how to navigate what happens when you ask a question to a group and no one answers, right? We all get those cricket moments. So, I think at this point, entering week 7, I think I have a pretty solid foundation of what to do. So, what I've learned is when I ask a question and people don't answer right away, or not even right away, but sometimes you get that stare at you, like, what are you talking about? I've realized that that can mean two things. So, one, they either don't understand the question that I'm posing. It could mean that maybe they haven't read the material or they're not familiar with what I'm asking. So, another understanding comprehension question. Or it could just be me. Maybe I didn't word the question right and it takes rewording. So, understanding that I'm not perfect in that area has been a long stride. But it's definitely something that I'm looking forward to capitalizing on as I go into my career. So another part would be that I'm having a large part in shaping this class this semester, which is super exciting. So something Marianne, which is the head professor, has told me is that the way the afternoon class, which I TA with her, runs is completely different from her morning class. So when we have our one-on-ones, I'm always excited to know that she's borrowing things from the afternoon class that maybe I implemented and using it in her morning class. And then she compares and contrasts how comprehension with the material goes. So maybe an activity that I did with the class in the afternoon, she finds that it helped the class understand a later quiz or a later comprehension area where she asked questions, right? Versus in the morning where she might not have did an activity similar to it, she's noticing differences. So that's been really cool to know that I'm actually making a difference in the way the class is being shaped. Additionally, I'm enjoying the activities that we're doing. So some of the classes that I've facilitated at this point, I've facilitated about 5 classes now as we enter week 7. And the last couple of classes have really focused on group dynamics and group dialogue, right? So I'm really interested. The class is largely focused on groups and how you're in this group and you have to reach a larger goal. So they go out into the community and they do service, but everything is so group oriented that communication and a solid understanding of group dynamics is really important to the success of these students in this class. So some of the activities I've done has talked about the different ways to be successful in regards to group dynamics, and I'm trying to find the sheet for you. So one of the activities I did came out of Box Center for Leadership and Group Dynamics is over at Harvard. But essentially, it's called Promoting Positive Group Dynamics. So there's various areas that contribute to a positive group dynamic, and it includes observing, reconciling, compromising, mediating, and supporting. So I drew up this little chart based off of what Doc Bock's recommendation said. He's a famous higher ed scholar. And I wanted the groups to really start thinking about, how do I support my group members? How will we come across reconciling when things might not go as we plan it to? So remember Tuckman's group development theory, so forming, storming, norming. So what happens when we get to the storming phase? How do we envision ourselves reconciling? Also, how do we mediate conflict? How do we support each other? How do we observe each other's strengths so that we can capitalize and make the most out of our time at these service sites? So those were the types of things that I've been focusing on talking to the students with. And for the most part, they've been really receptive, which has been really cool. Additionally, I have a great relationship with Dr. Marianne Lawrenson, so I have no complaints there. I found that she's somehow turned into my mentor, which is really cool. So I have no complaints, to be honest. So thinking about the not so positive, the class is really quiet. So that's something that Marianne and I sort of battle with, is, are they quiet because of the time of the day that the class takes place? So it's a 2 o'clock class. And we don't know if it's because they're sleepy or if they're not reading the material. But some days, it can be hard to talk to a group that's not really receptive to what you're saying. Like, they're receptive, but at the same time, they're giving you those blank stares like, can my day end already? So that's been really interesting. And then also, when we talk about group dynamics, I think that working with first years and second years, there's a few third years in there. But when working with these populations, they're still sort of angsty. They're nervous about, how do I approach conflict, right? So if someone is doing something in the group that I don't necessarily understand, how do I stop myself from taking upon the larger share of the group and just trying to do everything myself? And how do I tell that person, like, hey, this isn't working, in flat out terms? And I think that they struggle with that, as some of us do, even post-grad. So as we think about group dynamics and different things like that, sometimes it's very shallow. And I'm hoping to get them to the deeper level where they can think about, this is how I want to confront this person, and this is the outcome I would hope to get. So we do a lot of role playing with the students. However, it's really shallow at this point, because I can tell that they're nervous and maybe they don't have a lot of experience with confrontation. So thinking forward, another positive would be that I am excited for future classes. So we are reaching week 7, which I've mentioned already. And one of the things I really want to do before the semester is over is get the groups to have a roundtable discussion. So usually we're in Globe 2500. So the room is set up in a square. So one of my ideas has been to push the tables aside and just put all the chairs in a circle, and let's have a roundtable discussion without the table about how service site is going. So I really want them to discuss, because a lot of times they just get into their groups and the other groups have no idea what they're doing at the service site. So if they could just talk in the middle and talk about some of the things that's working, some of the things that might not be working, I think that would be very beneficial for everyone else as well. Because what one group may be struggling with, another group may be struggling with. And I think that would be a very instrumental process for them. I'm also excited because I've advocated for the use of feedback for myself. So thinking towards the end of the semester, I know that the final feedback is usually just for the professor on record, which is what they call them. So that would be for Professor Marianne Lawrenson. But I really want to make sure that I have some feedback as well. So one of the things that I'm excited about is the last week of November, I hope to get some type of feedback form going, a survey about how they perceive my performance as their TA. So from that feedback, I hope to capitalize on my teaching and facilitation skills and to get an honest review of how this class has went from their standpoint. So I'm looking forward to a lot in the next couple weeks. It's week 7 on Monday. Nothing but good things happening. So other than that, I can't wait to catch you up on the next few exciting weeks of the semester. Thanks.